The Chimes. On a bleak New Year's Eve in old London, when fog clung to the streets and cold winds scraped the stones, there lived a humble messenger named Toby Trotty, Veck. Trotty was a small, elderly man with kind eyes and a good heart, but years of hardship had bent his back and weakened his confidence. He delivered messages for a few coins, standing each day beneath the towering church whose bells, known simply as the chimes, rang high above him. Those bells were Trotty's friends. Their voices seemed to call to him in tones he could almost understand. When they rang, he felt braver. When they were silent, the world seemed harsher. But lately, Trotty had begun to believe something terrible. That poor people like him were worthless, a burden on society, and naturally inclined to do wrong. Cruel politicians, wealthy gentlemen, and opinionated newspapers around him repeated the same message day after day. Slowly, painfully, Trotty had started to believe it. One evening, Trotty's daughter Meg came to him, her fiancé, Richard, by her side. They brought him warm food, tender smiles, and the announcement that they planned to marry on New Year's Day. But Trotty, shaken by gloomy speeches from wealthy men he had delivered messages to, feared that their poverty would crush them. Marriage, he said sadly, with nothing to live on? Hard times like these? I'm not sure you should. Meg's eyes filled with tears. Richard looked wounded, Trotty's heart twisted. He loved them dearly, but doubt had crept into his soul. Later that night, Trotty delivered a message to a powerful alderman, whose pompous lecture struck Trotty like a blow. The poor are naturally wicked, he said. Poverty is their own fault, and people like Trotty only drag society down. Those words stung Trotty to his core. Discouraged and feeling worthless, he wandered back to the church tower. The chimes began to peal, loud, intense, insistent. Trotty felt strangely summoned. He pushed open the church door and climbed the steep, winding stairs, drawn upward by the bell's mighty voice. At the top, he stumbled and fell. Everything went black. Visions in the belfry. When Trotty awoke, he was still in the ancient tower, but the world seemed changed. The bells had taken on human-like forms, strange, solemn spirits with shining faces. The spirit of the bells spoke to him with grave authority. You have lost faith in the poor, your own people. You have believed false judgments. You must learn what becomes of that belief. And then the visions began. Trotty saw Meg's life unfold, but without hope. Because he had discouraged her marriage, she never wed Richard. Instead, years later, she married a cruel, harsh man. She grew older, wearier, and poorer. The sparkle in her eyes had dimmed. Next, Trotty saw Richard, no longer cheerful, but broken. Without Meg's encouragement, and without Trotty's belief in him, he fell into drinking and despair. Trotty cried out, "No, it can't be. Let them be happy. Let them be married." But the visions went on. He saw other poor people he knew, each crushed under society's harsh judgments. Good people forced into terrible decisions. Innocent mistakes treated as crimes. Mothers driven to desperation. Children born into hopelessness. And through it all, the chimes rang, not cruelly, but firmly, announcing that until people believed in the dignity and worth of every soul, society would continue its march toward misery. Finally, Trotty saw the most heartbreaking vision of all. Meg, alone and desperate, was ready to step into the river with her infant child because she saw no future, no mercy, no love left in the world. At that moment, Trotty fell to his knees weeping. "Stop!" he cried. "I was wrong, wrong to lose faith, wrong to believe the lies they told us. The poor are not bad. They are not worthless. They are people, brave, loving, noble people. Help them, Lord, help them." The bells answered with a great sweeping thunder. The vision shattered. New Year's Day. Trotty awoke on the church steps as if from a dream. Dawn broke soft and pale across London. He scrambled to his feet, alive, trembling, changed. He hurried home and found Meg and Richard, smiling shyly, ready to be married that very morning. Trotty embraced them with joy. "Marry!" he cried. "Start your life together. You're young, you love each other, and the world needs your goodness. I was a fool to doubt it." Meg laughed. Richard cheered. Joy rushed into their tiny home like warm sunlight. The bells at the top of the tower began to ring, deep, rich, glorious. They felt like a blessing, like hope, like grace. Trotty listened with tears running down his face. He finally understood. People are not defined by their poverty. Hope is stronger than despair, and every life, rich or poor, is precious before God. With the chimes singing above him and his daughter's happiness restored, Trotty stepped into the new year a wiser, braver, more faithful man.